things that are working. There you go. Things that are working, successes. I know Bruce saw a message that it sounds like you guys have picked back up. You guys are kicking ass again.
Yes, sir. Things are starting to pick up. All it takes is a little bad weather.
Yeah, I think that's true. Here's the good news, and I will say this for everyone, is Amy, I just saw her pop on, but when we look January over January for both states, Missouri and Illinois, close ratios are better than they were at this time last January. So that's a good indication. I know January is always kind of be a tough month, especially with holidays. I'm going to make one plug. I did send you guys an email for the Missouri agents because it was more on Missouri, but I'm sure it works the same in Illinois. Um, if you have the opportunity and the clients can afford it and they're interested in it, our conversion ratios when doing paid in full on auto are north of 31%. It's the one segment inside farmers that we consistently outpace Bristol in terms of close rates, competitiveness, price. So I think the secret sauce is there when you do the paid in full discount, you effectively get a 10% discount. You get 5% for the paid in full and 5% for good payer. We only quoted about 8% of the time in Missouri. And I'm assuming Illinois is probably very much the same way. But so just throwing that out there, if you guys are looking for areas that you could win, and it makes sense for the client, I understand that some clients can't afford to just pay it all up front. But if you can do it, the close rates there are fantastic. Miss Amy, what's up, my girl?
Derby.
How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you today?
I am going to kick this thing off. I'm going to do a slight introduction for you, and then I was probably just going to turn it over to you. Is that cool?
Yep.
Do you have a PowerPoint or anything that you're wanting to go through, or you're just chit chat?
Negative. I'm just going to talk
Love it.
and
Okay.
answer questions.
Amy, so this is Amy Edmonds, everyone. Amy you've been here 8 years, right?
Yes.
8 years. Came from the funeral industry,
Mm-hmm.
doing some sales on that side. Would you say, Amy, that you started 8 years ago? She was a seed, for those of you guys that don't know. So she went through the seed program. It's not exactly acquisition. It's not exactly retail. It's closer to retail than acquisition, I would suppose. Would you say, Amy, that you started off just firing from all get-goes day one?
That is funny that you say that because I didn't. Um, I no, I was a really slow starter. I'm one of those I need to understand the policy before I feel confident with selling it. So the first 6 months I sold like nada. And my mother was my very first policy I sold. And I didn't even know I was stumbling through it. She had no idea what she was going to end up paying. I didn't know what she was going to end up paying. But that was my mom for you. So she was my first policy, and literally it was like I think I could have won an award for slowest starter.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took me a while.
So fast forward 8 years later, Amy. So I know that this is mostly service based, and I'm sure you'll talk about some new business stuff too. But Amy consistently finishes in the top three, four agents in our district. She is by far and away the highest retention agency of the agencies that produce in terms of a decent amount of production. For last year, she finished at 87, 88% retention in both auto and home. Okay. She finished number one of all agents in DHQ, Missouri, in terms of premium growth on annual growth bonus. Okay. She qualified for toppers again, has an outside shot of PC, waiting for that to update. So super well balanced, super diverse in terms of it. She sold 30 plus issued and paid last year, double digits, high double digits in commercial. sells her 50, 60,000 a month in personal lines NBAs, hits that every month. So it's a sales and service focused. Okay. She's an absolute stud. She was last year's MVP for DHQ. So with that, I think that's enough flowers in terms of what I have for you. What did I
Well,
miss?
dang.
What did I
That I that who are you talking about? No, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's pretty
All right.
cool.
So with that, girl, I am going to hand it over to you and let you do your thing.
Yeah. So thank you, Derby, for that intro. I am today I'm supposed to talk to you about our retention process and how we keep our clients. I know that most of you probably, I guess you guys came on board right after or right when we took a lot of rate. I think that was 2023. And the time hopefully won't come soon, but it'll be here again before we know it. So one really important aspect that we focus on at my agency is policy reviews. So the way my agency is structured is I do all the policy reviews with my clients, and then I'll do, as far as sales, I'll do the referral. Business and things like that. But for the most part, I have 4 appointments every single day, and I'm just reviewing with my clients their policies. That has been, I would say, one of the biggest differentiating factors when it comes to how we're able to keep our clients. My team is awesome. They do a lot of, we always answer our phones. That's, key to renewals. But so our process here today, I'll just explain that to you. And if you guys have any questions, please, I'm happy to help any way I can. But we start off with I have a girl that she gets paid like $16 an hour. She just sets appointments and policy reviews. So as soon as we get the renewal on Apex, then we will reach out. We'll call the client, we'll email them, we'll text them. We do this every week until they get on my calendar. We like to be told no for a policy review because these are super beneficial for a couple reasons. Number one, we make it not just about rate. I'm renewing my relationship with them. I go back over their coverages and their optional coverages that they have. And then I also take that as an opportunity to utilize the bundling discounts and sell them something else. So this is where I do most of my life sales for the policy counts that we need. So we reach out, we get a client on the calendar. From there, I prep my appointments ahead of time. So we fill in, we use these forms in our agency. We call them supplemental forms, and it just shows all the coverages that the client has for both their home and their auto or whatever they have. And that's the only thing I stick to. So in that appointment, I email these supplemental forms ahead of time to the client. I pull them up on my screen, or if we're in person, we'll print them out and we just walk through what's changing this year. Um, we're starting to see a little bit of rate, as you guys are probably starting to see as well. And so I'll have some options prepared if they need them. So, for example, we're reevaluating extended replacement costs this year because that has went up pretty substantially as far as an optional coverage. So I'll quote it out ahead of time and just have things, options prepared. If I see that somebody's going above double digits in a rate um, revision, I will utilize Craft Lake ahead of time just to do just to see the different options, see what Progressive is offering, make sure that mine's within a couple $100, of all the other carriers. If it is, then I actually show them the screen with all the different options they have just to show like, hey, it doesn't make sense for us to go through all this work to move for a couple $100. No one ever moves from my farmer's policy through to Craft Lake. At the end of the day, when we talk about bundling discounts and what they're going to lose, they end up staying with farmers. So the supplemental forms we have, I'll just, if I can figure this out, I'll just share my screen. to show you our forms that we use. Let me share the right screen. That'd be funny if I didn't. Okay. All right. Can you guys see my screen there?
No, not yet.
All right.
Hit that little green share button. There it is.
Um, so let's see here. I can't really see what I'm sharing. Hold on. I think that's my pipeline. Well, there's my pipeline in agency Zoom.
What's showing us is your, well, it just went away, but it was your supplemental forms.
It was okay. These forms, I swear by. I literally go through these forms. I have everybody when we sign up somebody with new business or we do renewal appointments, we're always using these forms. What I found in my time with insurance is it can be very confusing and you can talk about details forever. So when we have these forms, the client sees there's a starting point to the conversation and there's an ending point to the conversation. And so it also gives us the opportunity to pick up any areas that they had left off. So we never get, issues or you didn't tell me I didn't have this thing. So this is kind of what we use for that. This is the homeowners, just an example of our homeowner supplemental form. And then at the bottom, here's where I'm cross-selling. Okay. So I just like to remind people about flood insurance, right? That it's not homeowners insurance. Here's where I talk about life. So I already have the bundling discounts for the home and auto if they would add a life insurance policy. So I quote out, just as a starting point, I always quote out a $50,000 10-year term. And I have the annual rate for that sitting to the side. And then I look at the auto bundling discount, times that by two, and then quote home and life bundling discount as well. And if it's a young family, typically, I mean, it's going to be a wash, really. So that's the way I am signing up life insurance policies, or at least starting. So yeah, so that's part of the process. Because of that, I do have families that are increasing substantially, but if they know ahead of time that I'm already looking at other options for them and I'm going to figure out a way to make it work, then, that's all they need to hear, basically, is that they're in good hands and then they end up not leaving. Another thing that I'm doing for those of you, I don't know, who have purchased books or have clients that are in the Smart Plan home policy or next gen, something that is missed almost 100% of the time is that impact resistant 3 and 4 for architectural shingles. That is a substantial, I mean, I caught it. Somebody was going up like $300 on their homeowner's policy, and I caught that they had their roof replaced, and it said under the UL rating 3 and 4, it said none. So I reached out, found out what kind of roof they had, and that was like a $500 discount. So obviously have a client that's very thankful and they stay. So anyway, that's a bit of my renewal process and how we kind of help clients. And once we get through that, I send over a Google review. So we'll go back. We use agency Zoom for our servicing renewals and tickets. So once the client has renewed with us, then we'll just send them an automated, give us a Google review. So that's really driven a lot of the call-ins is, from having, a high, I don't know, we've got definitely well over 100 5-star reviews on Google. So we get a lot of calls for, people looking for insurance that are nearby us. So, that is my renewal process. Anybody have any questions about that or
All right, so a
thoughts?
couple questions came in, Amy. First one,
Somebody's drawn on my supplemental form. I see that.
yeah, it's all right. First one is, do you have different supplemental forms for different carriers like Bristol West, or do you just use Auto?
I have one for Bristol West, and that is it. Because ultimately, I don't know how it works with you guys, but I only have those options just to show people. I don't ever actually end. I've never written a progressive policy, so
Okay. And then um, this this call is being recorded before I ask this next question, but it's only going out to district
okay.
HQ. Okay. Do you get permission from the client prior to quoting other carriers?
So it depends on the situation. And yes, I do. So whenever Carrie calls to set up the policy review, if we have someone that is going up over double digits, then we will say, Amy will have a look at other carriers. Would you like us to do that? So we do get permission ahead of time.
Okay. Would you be open to sharing your supplemental forms?
Of course. Yeah.
Cool. You can send them to
They're
me.
not. So just a plug here. They are not farmers official. They haven't been approved. It's just a guide that we use in the agency to keep us focused on track. And so it's more conversational. So this is just the current optional coverages. But yes, under that pretense, I will share them.
Yep. So Scott said, did he hear correctly that you have never written a progressive policy?
Yep,
Which is true. Can you maybe talk about more like mindset why you don't?
sure. Well, customer service is a very big piece of what we do. And our clients typically are not rate shoppers. We have some, but they're for the most part not rate shoppers. What they want is accessibility. And I cannot provide them, and I tell them this as well. I say I have my brokerage. We do have options there. And the difference is I just can't provide the same level of customer service as I am able to with my farmer's policy or my Bristol West policy. I have control over it versus submitting a request. Um, that will tend every time in my experience that has led a client to come back and stick with either farmers. Now I have moved people from farmers to Bristol West, not a problem. You know, sometimes like if you have somebody that you sign up on Signal, I have some team members that um, will talk about Signal, but maybe not focus on it as much as they need to really reiterate that it can increase your rates. So I have situations like that where, obviously somebody didn't get the memo and the rates went up $600. Well, then I'll put them over in Bristol West for 6 months. And then move them back over to Flex. But now we need to keep them for 13 months so we don't have an issue with the survival metric. So that's what we do. But I just have never had, I have a producer that has written a couple progressive policies. Um, but they're just more trouble than they're worth. And if we have somebody that is um so focused on rate that they could care less what their coverage is, um, or the carrier, then typically they're just not going to be the right fit for the agency anyway. So that's just how I choose to run the agency. I want people that are going to be covered well and fully understand their insurance policy. Normally, those ones that end up going into Progressive, like I said, producer has written them. We've never pulled them over to Bristol. We thought initially it would be great because we would have the opportunity to pull them back over to Farmers or Bristol West after 6 months, and then we would never lose them. But the issues that we had with like the billing issues and things like that, it's like, oh, it's not even worth it. So we just tell them now, if we can't get them over to Bristol West at minimum, then we keep tabs. We ask them if we can call them in 6 months, and then we just do it that way. So
All right. Scott, I'm going to get to your second question maybe at the end of this, so we don't get off topic, I think, but I will come back to that, I promise. Um, Any other questions on maybe the on the service side? You can either chat it in, you can unmute yourself and ask Amy directly. Um, I have probably an unfair question for you, girl.
Yeah.
Besides the supplemental form, so we do a Troy Course Guidance class once a month, and a big part of what TK says is um, he always won on service. Like, right? I think a lot of people are like, "Hey, I have to sell more. I have to sell more," and he was like, "Hey, he actually wins through service, and it allows him to sell more business."
Yeah.
Are there things that you do during the new business process, like maybe besides the supplemental form, that help you with higher retention numbers? I know it's probably a question,
Absolutely.
but what are some of those things that you do during that new business, whether it's onboarding or just the new business process, that help with the fact that your retention is so high for so long?
Yeah. So the biggest thing whenever I'm signing up a new family is I am most of the time I'm an in-person, so I'll get them in the office so we can both look at my screen together. And I do spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours with my new business appointment. The reason is I spend a lot of time getting to understand who they are and what they want and what they expect of me. So the relationship building is something that I do spend a lot of time on upfront on. Um, just about every single person I ever meet is surprised that insurance is not just a number, that there's a lot of different optional coverages and it's based on their situation. Even, down to showing them the 360 value and how it's made up. I walk through that with them. I ask them questions about their house. And then after that, we go through and they help me build the quote together. So talking about just how many optional. I always start off with you've got this base policy, right? And then you've got 15 optional coverages. And there are, these you pay extra for, and we really need to walk through these so I know what you want and what you don't want. We don't want to have something come up at claim time and you didn't know that there was an option that you didn't get the ability to say yes or no to. So I very transparent and trust is key. So I have a lot of engineers and architects and in the agency. They like details. I like details. They're mind blown and want to stare at a wall after they leave. But from there on out, it's simple. They trust me. So that's kind
And
of when you educate them. Okay, so I had a client in here the other day, yesterday actually. They went and they bought a new car this weekend. They've been with me for years, and there was an Allstate girl in the Lou Fuse dealership in St. Peters, and she came over and she tried to sell them and they told me about it. But she came over and she's like, here's my rates. And then she just showed them the numbers. She had no clue what coverages my client had. But my clients, because I empower them with understanding their policy and all the options, they knew right away that it wasn't even a comparison because they're asking, well, why didn't you ask me about all these optional coverages that I could have? So like when you give them the ability and help them to make sense of their own policy and know that there's a lot to it, anybody who calls and tries to give them a rate over the phone, they're not going to say yes to because they're going to be like, where's the whole process? Where's the 2 hours of going through and getting all the details of my homeowner's insurance right? you know so I find that doing that on the front end really helps them, especially when people come and try to sell them insurance over the phone or so does that answer?
yeah, no, it's I think that, for a lot of, I'm just trying to put my brain in some of the, because you have some, obviously everyone on here is 3 years and under, so some maybe don't have renewals yet, right? Which so I wanted to kind of marry it to, you do a great job, girl, of of just setting the stage and the culture that you've built inside the agency of you're always touching them and you're always service focused and it works. It's not just the retention piece. It's not that piece. It's, last year you did 864,000 in new business premium
Mhm.
for the year. The year prior to that, you did 709,000. So it's not just, and for everyone on here, if you have questions for Amy in terms of the new business piece, we 100% can talk about it. She's great on all of it. But I just wanted to throw those things out there. Bryce asked a question, Amy, do
Yeah.
you use a shared calendar like Calendly, Outlook, or any external program to set up for clients to pick and choose their appointments with you?
Nope. Nope. We just do it old school. We call and get the appointment, date and time set. We ask them if they want to do Zoom over the phone or in person. And the girls put it on my Outlook calendar, and that's how we do that. I looked into that at one point, um, but I never moved forward with it. So no, I don't.
So that actually hits on, Amy, what I was going to ask you. Can you share a little bit about kind of the process of scheduling the appointments, how many appointments you expect them to schedule for you, kind of what it looks like before it gets to your desk?
Yeah, sure. And do you mean like for renewal appointments?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will do 4 appointments a day. And the team knows because I'm a mom also, so I've got a lot of events that come up, last minute. But I do for the most part 4 appointments every day, and then I keep an hour and a half between appointments. And then I don't have appointments on weekends typically. Once the appointment's set on the calendar, I've got someone that creates all the supplemental forms and we'll have them ready for my appointment. So the idea, what we're trying to get to is the point where I can be like the surgeon, right? And just come in, look at the thing and give them advice and then move on to the next and then have somebody update it. That's an ideal world, right? We're not quite there yet, but we do make sure every week that we have all the supplemental forms created ahead of time. The team knows if there's an issue or somebody coming up for non-renewal or the rates are flying. We will pull those out. We have a Monday morning team meeting where we go through everything that's going to happen throughout the week. So that is something that we do as far as preparation's concerned. And then the appointment's just super easy. We just go over, I go, let's, from the start of the appointment, let's talk about money. So first I tell them what I'm going to talk to them about. It's about 30, 45 minutes maximum, depending on what's renewing. But I say to the client, I'm like, all right, we're talking about the money. I'm going to go over the difference, this versus last year with you. And then I'm going to talk about the changes to your policies. What's changing on the policy. And then we're going to go over and do a coverage recap, a coverage review. That kind of gets them far away from how much their rate's changing as well, because we start getting into it. And then at the end, I say, do you have any updates or changes? Have you made any renovations or anything like that to the house or anything you want to talk about? And then that's the appointment. So that's this kind of the structure. So they know, again, there is an ending point to this. We're not just going to talk for 5 years and in that, when we go through and talk about the coverages, I will say, okay, I quoted some options out. Just looking at your rate overall, it makes sense to pack as much as we can into the money that you're already paying. So through that, I just want to look at some bundling discounts, and I say, is there, do either you or your wife have life insurance currently? Yes or no. I don't even care what they say, if they have it or not. I say, I'm looking at this and there's bundling discounts for having any type of life insurance on file with us. So it makes sense to have something. And I went ahead and quoted out starting at a $50,000 10-year term. It's $9 a month, their bundling discounts are $200 over. I always times the auto times two because you know that bundling discount for life is like next to nothing. So typically, let's say it's $50, you know, and then I'm like, all right, well, it's $110 for a $50,000 10-year term policy. You get a little credit because of the bundling discounts. You want to do it, super simple, boom, you know. So now with our metrics, I don't know if you guys have anything different, but we have to sell, you know, having to sell the 6 life insurance policies per quarter. You know, I definitely want to get ahead of that. So I talked to everybody about life insurance now.
What other questions do we have on anything really for Miss Amy?
I don't know, just a side note, when you were saying that some people are just starting to get renewals, one thing, if I could have started a lot sooner, things that you learn over time, I guess. One big thing that I've learned is you get so busy at one point that you go home and it's like I have all this information in my brain and I'm scared to drop a ball, you know. So one thing that was really helpful is having some kind of system for all your service requests, right? So I get a lot, everybody's got my cell phone, so I get 5 text messages a day with clients saying, "Hey, Amy, can you do this for me or that or whatever?" As soon as I get either a phone call or the team or a text message or an email, um, thinking customer service, right? The first thing I do is I create a ticket for the team. And there's all different types of systems that you could use for keeping track of your service tickets. But that's the first thing I do is I create a ticket for that request, to know that as long as the ticket's created, it's not going to get lost. I'm not going to forget about it. I can sleep at night. And that keeps us on track with making sure that we don't drop a ball. I think that's one of the biggest things is as the client's renewals start happening and all of that is just make sure that you don't drop a ball, like forgetting about the text message that you got 4 days ago. Um, they'll leave, you know. So anyway,
Elias asked a question that I knew was coming. So thank you, Elias, for asking it because it allows me to go this route. I didn't want to bring it up. But Elias asked, how do you divide leads amongst staff?
yeah.
But I
So
think I want you to maybe, as part of that, talk about your philosophy in new business. Like, are you a really big internet lead buyer? And go that kind of route.
yeah. So no, we have never been. We're spending like 4,500 a month now on leads, internet leads. That's it. That's the most we've ever spent a month on internet leads since the beginning of the year has been like ridiculously slow and nothing's closing out, it feels like. Um, we started buying these internet leads, but we have never been ones that buy internet leads. We focus on win backs, the recommendation engine. Anytime we have a client leave, I mean, I start sending out 5 emails a day, and then, you know, I'll get clients that come back from that. But we focus on relational, getting new business that way. But as far as the team, when it comes to internet leads, we give 10 leads per day to each team member. So that's what we're doing with the internet lead portion of it. But we recycle. We recycle a whole lot of our leads and really focus on X states and calling that way. But the internet leads work really well for some people. They just have never really worked well for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat. I think that I'm going to ask this question that I know we have hammered home a million times with especially young careers, but I want them to hear it from someone else. And I'm not telling you that what Amy's getting ready to say is right or wrong or whatever. Because I feel like sometimes, Amy, you would probably say, I need to figure out this. This is probably maybe a struggle for you. What percentage of your sales historically are you doing? yourself?
Well, I would say probably 75%, 80% of new business. I write a lot of the new business myself.
And do basically a large majority, if not all, of the FFRs.
I do all of them. I do all FFRs. And the new business, yeah, that would be mainly myself. Do I
Matt,
want it to be that? No.
correct, right? And obviously you get to a point where now you're 4.5 million and it's probably unsustainable to do that.
Correct.
But a large majority, and I don't put words in your mouth here, so feel free to tell me to fly a kite. But
Yeah.
I think as you were growing, right, into this year 1, 2, 3, 4, you just took the piece that you were the best salesperson in the agency and you just took on a lot of that burden and it's worked for you.
It has, because nobody's gonna care about your agency like you. You can have the best team, and I can say that I do. I really have a great team. But at the end of the day, when it comes to like, okay, are we gonna hit this or not? Like, I know that I gotta rely on myself for getting the numbers and the targets, because it is like this is my livelihood. I am all in, and it makes no sense to not hit the numbers, not max bonus. So it's like it's figuring out a way to get to those numbers. Like, what do we do? Do we have to hire somebody else? We're constantly reinventing the wheel and looking for ways that we can be more efficient, so that I can be freed up to focus more on the sales aspect of it. So, it's constantly just looking at what we're doing and going, all right. But the biggest thing is keep positive because man, like this last month, I've been like, oh, the negativity, oh my gosh, we're not going to sell anything. There's nobody buying insurance right now, but just keep your head, just keep swimming. That's what I say to
How
myself.
many producers do you currently have?
I have one. I have one full-time and I have two very part-time producers. And then I have one commercial producer, and then I do all the life insurance and policy reviews. I have one full-time CSR. And then I have one appointment setter.
Okay. Matt W wants to know what points do you focus your conversations on most when you've reached a point in the annual review where the client is considering leaving for price when
Absolutely.
coverages are comparable?
Yes. When a client is considering leaving for price, there is that point where like, because I always get if they've already gotten quotes outside of what I can do for them, that's why it's important that they know that we have all these other we've got all these other carriers that we can handle that. But sometimes it's like their neighbor had whatever. And if they do get quotes outside of me, I have them send me the declaration pages. And if I'm looking at it, like we're way higher, there is a point in the conversation where I shift to like, hey, why don't you go over there? We'll reevaluate next year. And I put them in my systems for following up. But until we get to that point when we're just talking about it, I've had some clients it seems like everybody's going up like $400, seems like, and I'm going back to the first thing I do is if they were in Smart Plan, I'm checking those impact resistant to see if they have that, if there's something that I can apply to their policy as a credit. I reevaluate extended replacement costs this year because it has went up pretty substantially. We're also looking at limited matching, just because the stipulation in that coverage is from corner to corner. So um, with that, paying $800, $900 a year for $10,000 of coverage doesn't really make sense. So we reevaluate those areas. And if we get down to the end of that and they're still unhappy, then, we can go, all right, well, let's look at going over here for a year. But I say that only to say that we talk about it again The only time I ever put somebody in Craft Lake, and maybe I should use it more, but I just don't because I like to have control over my policies. But whenever I put somebody in Craft Lakes, because they're getting dropped, or it's a really high value household that I want to have, but they have two claims in 3 years. Okay, well, I'm going to put your home over here until that falls off. I'll put your auto over in farmers, and so that's kind of how the conversation goes. Honestly, um, yeah, that's really it. But if you, like I said, if you have the relationship in the beginning and you spend all that time with them up front, that they know that there's options, they know that they can come to you. That, I always tell people like, hey, listen, I understand you have a budget. And if you're running into issues financially, I want you to call me because we can look into even other carriers we have in the agency. So I just make sure that they know all of that about what we can provide for them so then they feel comfortable calling us if, rates are high. But it's important to be proactive. Like if I wait for clients to complain to me, then they've already looked elsewhere, right? But 60 days out from renewals when we're getting that notification. So, and probably all of you guys as well, you're also calling those people. Other agents from other agencies are calling those people 60 days out because they know that their policy renewal is coming up. So if we don't get to them right away, my team gets behind on calling 60 days out to set the policy review. I would have so many more clients, even my favorite ones, shopping for insurance elsewhere. So you want to get to them as soon as they get the renewal notification so that you can have the opportunity to say, oh gosh, they're going up $700. Like I need to call them and say, hey, I saw your renewal. I'm working on it. Let's get you on the calendar so we can review it and make some changes. If you're not proactive, they'll just leave.
Unfair question. I know you're going to guesstimate this probably. That's okay.
Yep.
Do you have any idea how many times you either retain or sell someone a new business policy when you were higher than what they currently have?
Whenever I'm taking on a new client,
Yeah, do that on what they currently have, or even how many times do you retain them even though rates go up?
if I could say 100%, I would. But not to say that with it's just because of the process that we've worked over the years to get into place to get to this point. But if somebody's going up, I mean, cancellations, I've had maybe two in the past 3 months because the rate was higher and they went somewhere else because I just couldn't help them. But for the most part, if the rate's going up, I'm able to save them with just reviewing the policy. Most of our clients, when we get them in initially, are not going to be because of rate. I mean, it's great to be the lower guy, but I don't focus on that because we don't win. I mean, we're not Geico, right? So we win clients. I mean, I don't know. I would say we just don't focus on the rate being a factor. So if we're the right fit, you want to take time to review your policies, you're interested in your coverages, then we're going to be a good fit for you. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really put a percentage on it because we're not
It's
getting
a
in here
it's a
based on
majority of
rate.
the time.
Huh?
It's probably a majority of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eric wants to know, do you have a claim service process that helps with retention?
We should get a little bit better with that. But whenever our clients have an issue, they always call us first. So nobody's ever filing a claim directly through 1-800-Farmers. If they have an issue, they call us. Had a guy yesterday. He's like, my walls are sweating. So I sent one of my contacts out, one of my roofers, to just check and see what was going on in his house. If they would come back and determine we need to file a claim, we go back through the coverages with them so they know, all right, this is what you don't have, this is what you do have, you don't have metal marring or whatever the deal is. So they're not like, oh, I'm not getting my gutters replaced. They know already going into it what they have and what they don't. And then we file a claim. We do not, the only time we step back into a claim is whenever we have really we don't really have a process for afterwards. So we file a claim if we have an issue or something's not going our client's way, then they contact us and then we reach out to the adjuster. We roll our sleeves up and fight with people if we have to, if something's not getting paid out. But we don't have an official process after the claim has been filed that we adhere to, I guess you could say. Um,
All right, you might have answered this, but I skipped it. Elias wants to know why buy 10 leads a day per producer if you don't feel like maybe they close as much as you think? And do you have a consistent vendor that you use for leads?
So why continue? Good question, right? The only reason why we continue is to get the X date for, because once you buy the lead, if you're paying 13 bucks a lead or whatever, once you buy the lead, they're there. They're yours. They're with you forever. So, we have this process that we use where they immediately get a text message, they immediately get an email, phone calls, like we're all over them right away. But typically we don't close them right away. So we buy them just to have leads for future, for 6 months from now, for a year from now, so yeah, I don't know. I continue to buy them just to have them so we can always keep our future leads filled up. And, once we get them in, we sort them on the X date, their renewal date, and then, they just go in the pipeline. Uh, could be a big waste of money. But in my opinion, we don't get people until quite a bit down the road.
Fair.
But that's just our agency. So like if you would talk to Jeremy, he would have a completely different process and he kills it on internet leads, right? So it's just my agency in particular, that's just not been a way that we get a lot of new business. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point for everyone on here, right? This is just the way that Amy does it, right?
Yeah.
It's how her brain's structured. It's the culture that she's created. It's going to look different than Heiser or Fogelbach or Bruce, right? Like everyone's going to do it a little different. I think maybe what I'm hearing you say is whatever that process is that you guys have, Amy knows her process. She doesn't stray from it. She's perfected it. The system is what the system is, and you're confident and it delivers, right? Works for you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone else on anything from Miss Amy?
I do want to say, just one thing. After a couple of years of doing this, I found with my friends as agents and myself that you can kind of hit a wall, and it's like make it or break it. Um, Now going into my ninth year in as a farmer's agent, there was times that I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to continue to do this, but getting over the hill, getting over that hump, it really, I mean, it's the best, it is the best decision that I have made, to be a farmer's agent. Like my husband was able to come on board. We have 5 kids, we've got a big family, and we're able to do a lot of fun things. There was times that I did not see that future, but I didn't want to give up. So, once you get to that point that you're like, should I throw in the towel? Don't. I would just say push through because it is, it is absolutely worth it once you get over the hump, with like the residuals coming in. And so anyway, but if you guys ever have any questions, call me. I'm very, very happy to help any way I can.
Can I share a personal story with the group?
Yeah, Of
Okay.
course.
So, when Amy came to us, she was making good money from the previous job she was in. And I had told her when we first met and I sat down, and I think you were one of the first people I ever did a pro forma with, like legit,
Yeah.
8 years ago. And I was like, Amy, there's gonna come a time, just because I had known you previously and knew your personality, and that the fact that you wanted to make sure that you read every part of that contract, right? Or
Yeah.
deck pages, and like, hey, I need to know every answer, right?
Mhm.
You always had that thing where like, hey, if a client, asks me a question, I never want the answer to be like, I don't know.
Mhm.
Like, I just want to know it. And I go, Amy, there's gonna come a time in the first year of this, because it's difficult when you're starting this thing for all of us. It's difficult as a brand new business owner in this industry to like feel like you're getting up and running and being successful, and there's ebbs and flows. And I go, Amy, there's going to come a time in this first year that you're probably going to be sitting in your car, and you're maybe going to be emotional, and you're going to call me.
I
And,
remember that.
yeah. And I go, please do. And I don't know exactly what time it was, 6 months in, 12 months in, she calls me, and she is sitting in her car, and she is emotional. And she's like, what the hell am I doing? Like, did I do the right thing? Right? Is this really what I need to be doing?
I literally went from like, well, I'm making it very, I was breadwinner, to like, you know, excuse me, but like McDonald's. Like I mean, I really took a jump off the deep end, and I was like very hopeful, but then, I was like, oh, what did I do? It
Yeah.
was terrifying.
Okay. But we fast forward, and she stuck with the game plan, and she took a lot of that on. Like, the reason why I'm bringing this up is someone who is now wildly successful, probably our fourth biggest agent based on premium in district in Missouri, who has all these awards, and the revenue is just now flowing in, right? It's different for everyone, right? You have a Heiser that just came in and just killed it from the get-go, and that's probably the exception, not the rule. So all of you guys on this, there's gonna come a time where you feel like, hey, what the hell am I doing? I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. Use Amy and what some of the things she said, and leading with service, and keeping your head down, and being the person where it's like, hey, Amy took it upon herself to like, hey, I'm gonna hit my numbers. Like, we can get it with staff, or all that's gonna be gravy, but it's gonna be me that hits it. Okay. So I just share that with you guys to say that someone who's really, really successful now went through some of the same things that some of you guys might be feeling right now. Right. And if you can just stick to what works for you, whether that's some of the stuff Amy said, or if it's one call close with ISL, whatever that is, there's 100% an opportunity here where she just said 5 minutes ago it's the best decision she's ever made. Okay, that's the opportunity that's there. Okay.
Absolutely. And also like lean on each other. That's the biggest thing. And what's great about our district is like being able to, you've got people who are a couple of years ahead of you going through some of the crap that you may be stuck in right now. Like, how do I get out of this bubble, and how do I move on to the next level of here? I feel like I'm plateauing. Like, get with another agent that's going through the same stuff that you're going through, right? Like, and they'll help you get out of it. And there's no sense of trying to figure out something completely new when you've got colleagues, other agents that have been through it. And so, I've done that. I always ask other agents, like, I'm really sucking in this area. Like, can you help me to figure out what I'm doing here and change it? Like, always be open to change. And like, we have to continue to have this group that we feel like we're a team, and we can always come to each other with questions and stuff.
Hey, Robin wants to know if you or your team participate in the insurance sales lab.
No.
Oh,
Okay, not because of any other reason except for we have been restructuring some things, but not for any other reason. Not saying it's bad, not anything like that. Because I'm sure it's amazing. We just haven't we have, and then I think we're still
That's
paying
what's
for
gotta
it.
be.
it
Yeah,
is.
you pay for it, but don't use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't need.
Okay.
So we're doing
And
it.
will you mute Kelly for me? All right. Anything else? Sorry, didn't mean to get too pom-pommy at the end, but Amy, you're the best. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
And
guys.
Em, anything you want to close with?
No, thank you, Amy. She's way more humble than she should be, but she also, you guys, just so you know, anytime we as a district reach out to her for things like this or to help with, one-offs with agents, she is always willing to help. She's always very much, hey, it's a team. You learn from others. Let's bring each other up. So thank you, Amy. Don't
Of
hesitate to
course.
reach out if you guys need anything. We're all a big giant family here.
We will send
Yeah.
out recordings, and
Mhm.
Amy, if you can
Yep.
give me supplemental forms, we will send those out too.
Cool.
All right. Appreciate you
guys.
all. Have a good day. See you.
Bye.
Thank you.